Good morning and welcome back to BIFA TV, your daily dose of industry information. Today, once again, we're joined by Ian Matheson for this week's What the Papers Say. So, Ian, thank you so much for joining us. How are you this morning?
Not bad, thank you, Brooke. How are you?
Yeah, no, I'm all good, thank you. So, what have we got coming up for this week?
Well, quite a busy one this week, I'm afraid. We've got obviously last week, Mr. Trump or Donald Trump. His tariff timeline shifted again.
Yeah, that was easy for you to say, but I mean, I guess we all saw it coming, didn't we? I know it's something that we've talked about in the past.
Yep, days before the 90-day pause on the country-specific reciprocal tariffs was scheduled to expire, the president pushed back the implementation again, and that's now moved back to August the 1st, which has left the current trading landscape very uncertain. Not really sure what they're going to do with the additional shifts in tariff implementation, which is making it very difficult, I guess, for shippers as they try to minimise the impact on their businesses and also the international supply chains that underpin those businesses.
Yeah, and I guess a lot of those supply chains are managed by BIFA members, aren't they? So, we'll pop a link to the updated tariffs in the description below.
Okay, brilliant. He's also threatened a 200% tariff on farmer imports into the USA. And I think at the moment they're exempted from duty hikes, and of course, if that happens, it would reverberate through the global pharmaceutical supply chains, many of which are again are managed by BIFA members.
Yeah, and of course they're pretty complex as well. So we're looking at global disruption, aren't we?
Yeah, I think any tariff on pharmaceuticals is going to carry real global consequences. It is a global industry at the end of the day. Yeah, and talking of global consequences, there'll be some of those from last week's sudden and well coordinated resumption in the attacks by the Houthi on ships in the Red Sea. There hasn't been any for 6 months, and there were two last week with sadly significant loss of life. I think those attacks they kind of vindicate the caution shown by many of the biggest names in shipping to continue with the Cape of Good Hope diversions despite the apparent improvement of security conditions in the Red Sea in the first half of 2025.
Yeah. So is it in business interest to kind of continue through the Cape of Good Hope?
Well, I'd guess so, yeah. It soaks up a massive wave of overcapacity from the large number of new buildings that are set to join the fleet or have been joining the fleet. But there's other good reasons for caution given the uncertainty of the security and geopolitical situation in that region.
I guess that any lines that have made kind of adjustments to their fleet, I know that they won't be in a hurry to make any more until that's certain.
That's right. As you know, Brooke, readjusting global networks is
Yeah.
hugely complex, time
Mm.
consuming, and of course carries a lot of cost. And I don't think it's something shipping lines would want to do if they had a unless they've got a high degree of certainty, they would not have to go back to sailing around the Cape of Good Hope just a few months later.
And I know from what I've read, I know that it's looking unlikely until at least 2026. I've seen also as well that some people are forecasting not even until 2027.
Yeah, that's right, Brooke. And being a cynic, I think that's something for which some of the shipping lines' bottom lines and their shareholders will probably be quite thankful because they're making money while those diversions are in place. And in related news, the World Shipping Council released its annual containers lost at sea report. Do you know how many containers were lost at sea last year, Brooke?
I mean, I will admit I did cheat a little bit. I have already read the article that you sent, so I know. I think it was 576, wasn't it?
That's right, absolutely. And that was up from a record low of 221 containers lost in 2023, but still well below the average of 1,274 containers lost annually. That's been the 10-year average. And what's got to be borne in mind with that is that vessel transits around the Cape of Good Hope increased by 191% compared to 2023. And that's an area known for very hazardous maritime conditions due to the converging weather systems off the southern Africa. And apparently, according to the World Shipping Council, that actually contributed to approximately 200 containers lost in this region alone.
Yeah, I mean, what's that? We're looking at about 35% of the whole total, aren't we?
That's right, and obviously anything, a lost container leads to a lot of work for a BIFA member that's had the misfortune for one of those containers to fall off the ship.
Right, so now we've talked about maritime. What have we got happening in the air freight sector?
Yeah, we shouldn't forget about the air freight sector, and I noted this week Zanita, the global sort of air cargo platform, rate platform, that they say that global air cargo spot rates fell for the second straight month in June, dropping 4% year over year as available capacity outpaced demand for the first time in more than a year and a half. That decline, from what I read, has fueled concerns over a weakening market outlook for the second half of 2025 amid growing uncertainty around international trade.
Yeah. And I know in the report it was up 1% year on year with available capacity up 2%, wasn't it?
That's right. Yeah, the volumes were up slightly, but the capacity increased a lot higher. And I don't know if you recall, but when Zanita reported the data for April, it did ask the question, how bad will it be over the rest of 2025? And I guess that's certainly top of the mind now for both airlines and forwarders, as well as shippers and consumers.
Well, I mean, I guess despite all of that, you still have to look at the demand, and I think it was still up 3% for the first half of the year in compared to that same time period in 2024, wasn't it?
Yeah, but as I say, it looks a lot less rosy, the outlook that is for the remainder of the year, given the
Yeah,
effects of the tariffs, the curbs on the US de minimis exemptions for cross-border e-commerce goods, and
yeah, of
just the
course.
general disruption that's taking place around the globe.
Yeah, of course. So I know we've seen a lot of it recently, haven't we?
That's right. And that's all from me from this week, Brooke. I hope it's been of use.
Yeah, of course. And I know that our members, they'll find it useful as always. So thank you very much, Ian. Everything that we have discussed today will be in the description below if you want to read any of these articles any further. That's all for today's edition of BIFA TV, your daily dose of industry information.